You stand in the hollow silence of the galaxy's youth, when the stars were still raw with their firstborn fire, when the constellations themselves had not yet taken the forms you now recognize. The void stretches before you, infinite and shimmering, but it does not feel empty. It feels alive with whispers. In the currents of hyperspace, you hear them faint echoes carried across eons, voices that were once chants in temples of stone and blood. You do not know if they are speaking to you, or if you are simply remembering something you once were. The first echoes come from Korriban, the cradle of shadows. Its deserts burn beneath twin suns, but the heat is not what scars you. It is the graves, endless tombs carved into the cliffsides, each stone etched with forgotten hieroglyphs of power. Here, the Sith Lords dreamed themselves immortal. Here, they wrote prophecies in blood and flame. As you walk the crimson dunes, the ground feels like ash, as though the planet itself still smolders with their wrath of time. They wait for a war that has not yet come. A war they already know will shape the destiny of light and shadow alike. You reach the Valley of the Dark Lords. Massive statues loom above you, their faces eroded, but their presence eternal. They are not simply monuments, they are guardians of memory. The air grows heavy, filled with the weight of promises made in agony and triumph. You place your hand upon the cold stone, and for a moment it feels warm, as though something beneath the surface still pulses. You hear their whispers clearer now. Asterisk, the galaxy is not yet balanced. The Jedi will rise, and we will meet them in fire. The prophecy coils around you like smoke, lingering in your lungs, refusing to leave. But far away, on peaceful worlds where the Jedi train beneath silver skies, another kind of whisper calls. You are among them now. The air is light, the forests alive with songbirds, the rivers calm. Yet, even here, serenity is not without shadow. In their meditations, the Jedi sense something beyond the horizon, something pressing against the edge of their dreams. They cannot name it, but you feel it too. It is as though hyperspace itself trembles with anticipation, as though the corridors between stars quiver like the strings of a taut instrument waiting to be struck. One night, beneath the pale glow of distant moons, a young Jedi Knight closes their eyes and sees a vision, crimson banners unfurling across the void, fleets of obsidian ships spilling forth like locusts from a wound in the galaxy. They awaken in silence, heart trembling, breath shallow, and though they do not yet speak it aloud, you know they have glimpsed the first echo of war. The lore tells you the Sith had been forgotten by the Republic. Millennia had passed since their exile, and in that forgetting lay the seed of calamity. The Republic believed hyperspace to be their map, their guide, their dominion, but hyperspace itself is wild, alive, capable of betraying those who chart its paths. You drift with explorers in their shining vessels, navigating the unknown. One misstep, one accidental tear through the fabric of the stars, and you find yourself face to face with a world thought lost. Korriban awakens, not by design, but by chance, and in that moment, the Sith discover the Republic anew. You feel the moment like a tremor beneath your feet. The Sith priests chant in vaulted chambers, their words thick with venomous power. Dark lords raise their blades, their eyes gleaming with the promise of conquest. And on the far side of the galaxy, The Jedi rise from their meditations, unsettled, sensing that the serenity of ages has cracked. You are balanced at the threshold, a breath held before the storm. The stars themselves seem to recoil, nebulas dim, planets pause in their rotation, or so it feels. The galaxy remembers what you are only beginning to understand, that balance is not peace, and peace is not eternal. You are here, in the instant before the first clash, listening to whispers, both sacred and profane, standing between the weight of forgotten prophecy and the first trembling note of destiny's song. The great hyperspace war has not yet begun, but in the marrow of your being, you already know that it is coming, and that once it begins, stretches out before you like a tapestry woven in fire and silence. What began as whispers is now a chorus, each note vibrating through hyperspace, pulling you deeper into the secret design of destiny. You see the explorers again, charting new lanes through the endless dark, their ships fragile compared to the immensity of the void. They believe themselves pioneers, daring and free, but you sense that the path beneath their hulls has already been shaped by unseen hands. Hyperspace itself seems to beckon, guiding them not to discovery, but to revelation. And so it happens, the stumble, the accident, the doorway no one meant to open. A Republic vessel pierces a forgotten lane. With wonder and fear, they do not yet understand what they have unearthed, but the Sith do. The Dark Lords gather in the caverns of shadow, their robes heavy with dust of centuries, their voices low with anticipation. In them burns a fire undimmed by exile, a hunger passed from master to apprentice, sealed in ritual and blood. They gaze upon the intruders, not with surprise, but with recognition, as if this meeting had been foretold, as if they had been waiting. And the waiting ends. Messengers slip through hyperspace like knives through silk. Fleets are summoned, weapons polished, banners unfurled. The Sith are no longer a memory entombed in stone. They are warriors of flesh and steel, ready to rise. You feel their fury stretch across the stars, carried on the tides of hyperspace, until even the Jedi stir uneasily in their temples. Dreams come more vividly now. A council hall flickers with the light of torches, masters gathered in anxious silence as visions of war ripple through their minds. Their words are calm, but their voices tremble beneath the weight of what they sense. You walk among them as they debate, as wisdom contends with denial. Some cling to the fragile peace, insisting the visions are nothing but the play of restless minds. You stand, heart tightening with the knowledge that both peace and denial cannot shield them from what is coming. Beyond their halls, the galaxy bustles in innocence, on routes believed safe. But you know that this innocence is a veil, one that the Sith will tear apart with ruthless hands. You see them already in your mind's eye, ships like obsidian daggers streaking through hyperspace, soldiers armored in red and black, their chants thundering across battlefields. Worlds that know nothing of Korriban will burn, and cities built on millennia of trust will crumble in an instant. The Sith do not rise gently. They rise like a storm. Yet within the storm, you sense something more than fury. You feel their conviction, their belief that the galaxy belongs not to balance, but to strength. They carry within them the old prophecy, that light and dark are not equal, that one must bend the other until only dominance remains. Their faith is not fragile, Like the Republic's peace, it is forged in suffering, tempered in exile, hardened by centuries of silence. And you cannot help but feel its weight, even as you recoil. In the chambers of Korriban, a new Dark Lord rises, voice echoing against stone carved by ancestors. He speaks of vengeance, of destiny fulfilled, of chains broken, and empires born. The Sith kneel, their voices rising in unison, and you feel the vibration ripple outward, stirring the stars themselves. It is not merely a declaration of war. It is the unsealing of an ancient covenant, the fulfillment of a promise carved into tomb walls and whispered by restless spirits. And far away, beneath calm skies, the Jedi sense the tremor. They gather their strength, though doubt clings like shadow to their hearts. They know they are guardians of peace, yet they feel the weight of being soldiers once more. The silence that once guided them in meditation is broken by visions of fire. You walk with them into the night, listening to the rustle of leaves, feeling the unease coil in your chest. They do not want this war, but they cannot stop it. Neither can you. The galaxy exhales, long and heavy, as though bracing for impact. You can almost hear the stars groan beneath the strain, as if every orbit and every light year bends toward inevitability. The great hyperspace war is no longer a whisper of prophecy. It is a shadow falling across every world, every soul, and as you stand in its gathering twilight, you understand that the war is not simply about victory or defeat. It is about memory itself, whether the galaxy will remember light or darkness when the last flame dies. You feel yourself drawn deeper into the unfolding storm, as though hyperspace itself is no longer a current, but a tide pulling you toward destiny. The first sparks of conflict ignite, and you can no longer separate yourself from the flames. The Republic, unaware of the scale of what it has awakened, scrambles to defend borders that were never meant to hold back such fury. You watch as fleets gather at distant outposts, their hulls gleaming beneath starlight, their commanders stiff with pride but heavy with uncertainty. They believe their numbers will be enough, their maps sufficient to cage the dark. But you know what waits beyond their lines. Sith warships carved like predators, engines throbbing with hunger, crews chanting in unison as though each vessel itself is alive with hate. The first clashes erupt like thunder. You hear the shockwaves of battle carried across space, energy bolts burning trails through the void, hulls shattering into fragments that spin silently among the stars. The Jedi arrive, their sabers igniting like constellations, blades humming. With the calm of discipline and the fury of necessity, you move among them. Each swing of light a vow, each parry a prayer whispered not for victory but for survival. Yet, even as their brilliance cuts through darkness, you sense how heavily the tide leans. The Sith fight not with restraint but with abandon, every strike infused with the weight of centuries of exile. For them, this war is not new. It is the end of waiting. You drift into the ruins of the first fallen world. Cities once radiant with commerce lie smoldering, their plazas filled with ash instead of song. Towers collapse inward like broken ribs, and the sky glows red with fire that refuses to die. You walk the streets where children once played, where markets once thrived, and now the silence is louder than the screams that came before. The Sith banners rise here, planted in scorched earth, a mark of both victory and warning. You feel the despair seep into the soil, the sense that this is only the beginning. The Jedi move tirelessly, yet their burden grows. You see them kneeling beside the wounded, hands trembling as they heal with what strength remains, only to rise again to meet the next wave. Their eyes, once serene, now carry shadows. They do not fight for glory, nor even for triumph, but for the fragile hope that the galaxy might still know peace again. And in their struggle, you sense something beautiful, the resilience of light, the refusal to let darkness claim the final word. They know they are outnumbered, yet they stand. But the Sith are relentless. You watch their leaders drive them forward with speeches that burn like fire. They speak of destiny, of vengeance, justified by centuries of obscurity. To them, conquest is not cruelty, but restoration, the reclamation of power they believe stolen, and you cannot deny the intensity of their conviction, the way their chants echo through your very bones. Each world they seize strengthens their cause. Each victory hardens their belief that the galaxy was always meant to bow to them. The war stretches across hyperspace like wildfire. Routes once peaceful become corridors of blood and flame. Traitors vanish, colonies go silent, and every star feels dimmer, as though the cosmos itself recoils from the violence. You sense the Republic unraveling, its councils fraught with fear, its fleets strained to breaking. Even the Jedi, guardians of order, feel themselves thinning across too many battlefronts. Their dreams grow darker, their meditations filled with visions of ruin. Yet still they rise each dawn, lighting their sabers, as if to remind the galaxy that even in despair there is defiance. And then you feel it, the weight of inevitability pressing against your chest. The great hyperspace war is no longer a prophecy, no longer a whisper. It is here, burning in every world, etched into every star. You are part of it now, woven into the tapestry of light and shadow. The whispers that once guided you have grown silent, replaced by the roar of conflict. And yet, in the stillness between battles, you begin to wonder, what will endure when the flames die? Will it be the brilliance of Jedi hope, or the unyielding darkness of the Sith? You close your eyes, breathing in the smoke of fallen cities, feeling the hum of lightsabers in your bones, hearing the chants of the Sith in your blood. You do not yet know which memory the galaxy will keep, but you know this: the echoes of the great hyperspace war will never fade. They will live in ruins and in stars, in songs and in tombs, in the fragile hearts of those who survived, and in the relentless ambition of those who did not. And you too carry them now, forever bound to the moment when the stars first trembled, and the whispers of destiny became the roar of war. You move forward into a deeper shadow, as if hyperspace itself has folded around you, carrying you into the hidden corridors of destiny. The war has begun to breathe, yet now you feel its roots stretching backward and downward, reaching into places buried long before the first blade ignited. You are not simply watching history unfold. You are walking the path carved by prophecy, by blood, by the unyielding hunger of those who chose to defy the silence of exile. Each step you take carries you closer to the heart of Korriban, where the flame of the Dark Lords grows brighter, threatening to devour the calm light that once illuminated the Jedi. The air on Korriban is heavy with dust and memory. The tombs echo with the footsteps of pilgrims, warriors, and acolytes who once carried offerings of bone and stone to appease the spirits. You pass through cavernous halls carved with precision, walls etched with glyphs that whisper of a time when the Force itself was bound and unbound through ritual. You feel the weight of those ancient syllables pressing against your ears, as if daring you to listen too closely, daring you to surrender to meanings not meant for balance but for dominion. Every chamber feels alive, its silence humming like a voice buried beneath the surface of stone. And beyond those tombs, the Dark Lords rise anew. You see their council gathered in the red haze of Korriban's sky, their cloaks fluttering like shadows torn loose from the ground. Their words are sharp, forged like blades, filled with the certainty of vengeance. They speak of a galaxy unworthy of peace, a republic softened by comfort, a Jedi order blinded by serenity. They see themselves not as invaders, but as rightful heirs, reclaiming what the stars themselves promised. You feel their conviction pulse like fire, spreading from heart to heart, uniting them in purpose that is terrible and unshakable. Far across the void, the Jedi gather in their temples, yet their dreams are restless. You stand among them beneath spires that pierce the sky like lances of light. The gardens are lush, the halls filled with the quiet hum of meditation, but serenity has begun to fray. Young initiates wake from visions trembling, their eyes wide with the memory of crimson skies and burning fleets. Masters gather in council chambers, lit by torches that flicker against their robes, each flame reflecting the unease that grips them. They speak carefully, as though their words might themselves ignite war. Yet, no matter how gently they tread, you can feel the truth woven between their voices. The shadow has returned, and the dream of eternal peace is dying. You drift deeper into the currents of their meditation, feeling what they feel. You hear the hum of their sabers as they train, their movements graceful yet weighted with urgency. Once, their exercises were dances of harmony, meant to refine both body and spirit. Now, each swing carries the tension of preparation, the unspoken knowledge that every student may soon become a soldier. You walk with them as they move beneath the stars, repeating their vows in whispers. They are guardians, not conquerors, protectors, not rulers, yet you sense how fragile those words feel when tested against the fire of the Sith. The contrast between them sharpens within you. The Sith blaze with passion, each one a storm unrestrained, driven by hunger and prophecy. The Jedi, by contrast, glow like candles, steady but vulnerable to the winds of war. You feel caught between them, your chest tightening with the weight of inevitability. You know that when these flames collide, the galaxy itself will shudder, and neither side will emerge untouched. And already the flames draw closer. Hyperspace lanes carry the Sith forward, each ship a spear aimed at the heart of the Republic. Scouts vanish into silence. Colonies fall without warning, and the distant cries of the conquered echo faintly across the void. The Republic struggles to understand what has awakened, but you feel how little their understanding matters. This is not a conflict of borders or resources. It is the eruption of a truth buried too long, that light and darkness were never meant to live in peace. You stand now at the threshold, where the two forces will meet. You can feel the heat of Sith fury against the cool breath of Jedi resolve. You are not outside of it. You are inside, woven into the tension, a witness carried by currents that cannot be stilled. The galaxy holds its breath, and so do you, as the shadowed path grows narrower, guiding you toward the moment when dream and flame will collide, and the destiny of countless stars will be written in fire. You feel the shadows lengthen, pressing against your skin as the war surges beyond whispers and visions. What was once prophecy is now movement, and you are carried with it, borne along the turbulent currents of destiny. The Sith armadas spill from hyperspace in waves, their hulls glimmering like obsidian daggers, their engines screaming as they tear through the void. You hear their chants reverberating within each ship, voices united in dark purpose, ancient hymns once confined to tombs, now resounding across stars. Korriban no longer sleeps, it burns, and that flame spreads to every corner of the galaxy. You walk among the Jedi as they prepare, their temples no longer untouched sanctuaries, but places of gathering storm. They gather in council once more, their voices careful yet urgent, their hands folded but their eyes restless. You stand at the edges of their meditation chambers, sensing the doubt that clings to them like mist. They are not unafraid even. They cannot deny the weight of what presses upon them. Yet, within their fear, glimmers resilience, a vow that no matter the darkness, they will hold their ground. Their strength is quiet, but it is steady, forged not in passion, but in patience. You feel their breath synchronize, as if together they summon a calm that resists the tremor of war. Across the galaxy, the Republic trembles. Worlds that once believed themselves safe awaken to fire. Fleets scramble from shipyards, governors speak in hurried declarations, and markets collapse beneath the fear of conquest. You drift through crowded plazas where citizens cry out in disbelief, unable to reconcile the legends of the Sith with the devastation that now reaches their very doors. They thought such stories belonged to the dust of history, yet you see their faces illuminated by the glow of burning cities, and you know that history has returned, not as memory, but as blade. You enter the first great battle that the galaxy will remember. It unfolds in the depths of space, where stars burn silently as witness. The Jedi stand at the heart of the Republic fleet, their sabers igniting like scattered constellations. You are among them, feeling the hum of each blade resonate through your bones, a sound both soothing and defiant. They move with precision, each strike measured, each motion rooted in discipline. Yet when the Sith descends, the order of battle fractures. Their fury crashes like a tide, unrestrained and merciless, driven by centuries of hunger. Where the Jedi are calm, the Sith are chaos, and the void itself seems to shudder beneath their clash. You drift into the wreckage left behind. Ships lie in twisted fragments, their hulls split open like wounds, spilling silence into the dark. Bodies float, unmoored, their faces serene or contorted in terror. Among the debris, lights flicker faintly, echoes of life clinging to existence. The battle has ended, but no one can call it victory. It is devastation, a reminder that this war is not one of borders, but of survival. And as you pass through the wreckage, you feel the weight of inevitability press heavier. This is only the beginning. The Siths celebrate their triumphs with rituals. as old as their bloodlines. You see them gathered in halls carved of obsidian, torches casting jagged shadows against the walls. Their leaders stand above, voices raised in exaltation, proclaiming that prophecy is fulfilled. They speak of vengeance, justified, of destiny realized, of chains broken at last. Their armies kneel, pounding their fists against the stone in thunderous rhythm, and the sound rolls through you like an earthquake. You feel their certainty, their absolute belief that nothing can halt their rise. For them, this is not conquest, it is restoration. But across the void, the Jedi do not falter. In their temples, wounded return, yet they return still breathing. Masters bow their heads in silence, mourning those lost, but then they rise again to train the next. You walk with them as they light their sabers beneath dawn skies, their movements weary but unbroken. They carry sorrow like a cloak, yet from that sorrow springs determination. They know the darkness will not relent, yet neither will they. And though their voices are quiet, you feel the power in their silence, as if the Force itself answers through them, steady and eternal. The war stretches on, each clash a new wound upon the galaxy. Worlds change hands, fleets burn, temples fall, and still neither side yields. You feel yourself sinking deeper into the current, carried into the heart of the struggle where dream and flame intertwine. The Jedi dream of peace, fragile yet unyielding. The Sith blaze with fire, unrestrained and unending. You stand between them, breathless, watching as the galaxy's very soul is carved and scarred by their collision. And in that collision, you begin to understand this war is not merely about light against dark. It is about memory itself, about what the galaxy will choose to remember when the fires fade, serenity or fury, restraint or passion, dream or flame. You step deeper into the stream of time, and the war unfurls before you like a wound that refuses to close. Each battle bleeds into the next. Each cry echoes into the silence between stars. You feel the galaxy groan under the weight of conflict, as if even the orbits of planets strain against the tide of destruction. The Sith press onward, their fleets sweeping through sectors with fire and steel, their banners planted in ashes. Yet the Jedi refuse to vanish, their light flickering but unextinguished, their resolve carried like a torch into the darkest nights. You walk between them, your body pulled taut by the gravity of both sides, as if you are a bridge stretched between serenity and fury. The Sith grow bolder with each victory. You see them carve their marks into conquered cities, their symbols etched into stone where once stood temples of peace. The air vibrates with their chants, with the thunder of soldiers who believed themselves unstoppable. They march through ruins, not with hesitation, but with pride, their eyes gleaming with the reflection of fires they themselves ignited. And yet, in their triumph, you sense something more dangerous than fury. You sense certainty. They no longer doubt their destiny. They no longer fear resistance. To them, the galaxy is already theirs, and all that remains is to claim it piece by piece. But the Jedi endure. You see them kneeling among the rubble, helping survivors rise, binding wounds with trembling hands. Their robes are torn, their bodies weary, but still they speak words of calm, offering hope to those who thought hope lost. You walk with them as they light their sabers again, blades igniting not with rage, but with quiet determination. They do not see themselves as conquerors, but as guardians, and even when the galaxy burns around them, they cling to that vow. In their silence, in their stillness, you feel the weight of a strength different from fire, the strength of water, steady, patient, able to wear down even the hardest stone. The war rages across hyperspace lanes like a storm without end. You drift through its battles, watching as ships collide in bursts of light, as starfighters twist through fire, as worlds tremble beneath bombardment. Each clash feels endless, yet you sense the force guiding every motion, every breath. It binds the chaos into something larger, something that feels less like war and more like a revelation. This is not simply conflict. It is the galaxy remembering its oldest truth, that balance is born not in stillness, but in collision. You find yourself standing in the ruins of a world that once flourished with gardens and spires. Now the ground is blackened, the air filled with ash that clings to your lungs. The Sith banners rise above the smoke, fluttering against a crimson sky. Yet, in the shadows of the ruins, you see a Jedi kneeling, hand pressed to the earth, whispering to the Force. Around them, survivors gather, their faces streaked with soot, but their eyes drawn to that single flame of calm. In that moment, you understand that the Jedi fight not merely to win battles, but to remind the galaxy that peace can still be remembered, even in the heart of fire. The Sith, too, remember. They remember exile, silence, hunger. Their war is not only against the Republic, but against the memory of their own chains. Every city they take, every fleet they crush, feels to them like vengeance long delayed. You feel it surge through them, like a current, a fire that has burned too long to be quenched. They believe they are destiny incarnate, that the galaxy bends naturally to their will. And as you watch them kneel before their dark lords, voices raised in thunderous unity, you feel the sheer power of their conviction. It is not madness, it is faith. Yet faith meets faith, and conviction meets conviction. The Jedi dream collides with the Sith flame, and the impact tears through the stars. You hear the cries of both armies, the clash of blades, the hum of sabers, the roar of engines. You hear the silence after, heavier than sound. The war does not end. It simply breathes, inhales and exhales, each battle a heartbeat in the body of a galaxy too vast to ever truly rest. And through it all, you remain. You walk the shadowed path, caught between light and darkness, watching as dreams shatter and flames consume. Yet knowing that neither will vanish completely, the Jedi will endure, the Sith will endure, and so will the memory of their collision. You feel it settle into the marrow of the galaxy itself, a truth carved too deeply to ever fade. When you close your eyes, you still see the flames of Korriban rising. You still hear the chants of the Jedi whispered like prayers in the night. You know the war will stretch further, consume more, reshape everything it touches. But in this moment, you carry both fire and silence, dream and shadow, hope and fury. You carry the weight of a galaxy forever, marked by the great hyperspace war, and you understand that you, too, are part of its eternal memory. You rise into the blood-red skies where the war breathes its first unrestrained roar, and the galaxy trembles beneath the descent of the Sith armadas. You hear them before you see them, a vibration in hyperspace itself, a low thunder rolling through the corridors of eternity. Then the shadows break open, and fleets spill forth like a tide of blades, countless vessels slicing into the light of distant suns. They descend not as explorers or wanderers, but as conquerors, each ship a monument to vengeance, each engine a hymn of war. You feel the void itself recoil, as though the stars have long feared this moment and now shudder at its return. The Republic watches in disbelief. Worlds that once thrived in the peace of trade and discourse awaken to skies filled with fire. Fleets scramble to meet the invaders, their formations hurried, their strategies untested against such fury. You stand on the bridges of their ships, watching officers bark commands, eyes sharp but hearts unsteady. Their vessels gleam with promise, but you can feel how fragile that promise is when set against the storm. For the Sith do not come with hesitation, they come with hunger sharpened by exile, a hunger that has learned patience but never lost its edge. The first engagements explode across the void. You watch ships collide in dazzling bursts of fire, hulls splitting open like broken shells, flames spilling into the cold silence. Starfighters weave through fields of debris, their trails glowing like fleeting constellations, their pilots' voices strained with desperation and resolve. You hear the screams cut short in static, the sudden silence of vessels torn apart. Yet, even in the chaos, the Sith press forward, their formations disciplined, their will unshakable. They are not improvising, they are remembering, following. Patterns etched into their bloodlines, strategies born from centuries of waiting in darkness. You drift into the heart of their fleets, and you feel the rhythm of their unity. Each ship is more than a weapon. It is a voice in a chorus, chanting in unison, carrying the song of conquest across hyperspace. Warriors stand ready in their holds, armored in crimson and black, their chants rising as drums echo in their chests. Their eyes burn with belief, their hearts throb with purpose. They are not merely soldiers, they are vessels of prophecy, convinced that every drop of blood spilled carves the galaxy closer to destiny. And you cannot deny the weight of that belief, even as it chills you. The Jedi sense this fury, even before their fleets encounter it. In temples scattered across peaceful worlds, they rise from meditation, drawn into visions they cannot ignore. You walk among them as they grip their sabers with trembling hands, their voices soft yet urgent as they speak of crimson storms and burning skies. They gather in silence, knowing their place is not to retreat but to stand in the breach, and though fear coils in their hearts, they temper it with resolve. For the Jedi, this war is not about conquest, but about preservation, about shielding the fragile spark of peace from a storm determined to extinguish it. You stand with them in the first great clash where Jedi sabers ignite, blades of light shimmer against endless black, their hum cutting through the roar of cannons and engines. Each swing carries both elegance and desperation, each parry a vow held against overwhelming darkness. The Sith descend upon them with fury, red blades burning with rage, each strike a declaration of vengeance. The clash is thunder made manifest, light colliding with shadow in a storm that consumes both. You feel each impact reverberate through your chest, as if the force itself trembles. With every stroke, beneath these battles, planets scream. You drift to a world where cities once gleamed with marble towers and bustling markets, now drowned in fire. The skies bleed crimson as bombardments fall, streets split open, and rivers run black with smoke. Survivors flee through broken corridors, their cries lost beneath the roar of engines overhead. Yet even in the ruins, the Jedi descend, sabers, glowing hands outstretched to shield the weak. They stand against legions, their robes singed, their breaths ragged, yet their presence a reminder that hope still breathes. In their defiance, you feel the fragile but unyielding heartbeat of the galaxy, and still the Sith press forward, relentless. You see them raise their banners in conquered plazas, their shadows stretching long against the fires they ignited. Their victories are not only of steel and fire, but of spirit. Each world taken confirms their prophecy. Each surrender strengthens their faith. They believe themselves unstoppable, and in their eyes you see not doubt, but inevitability. To them, the galaxy does not resist. It submits. The war has begun in full, and you feel it coil around you like chains forged of flame and silence. There is no turning away, no return to innocence. The blood-red skies above the galaxy are not a beginning, but a revelation. The moment when prophecy and reality fuse into one. You breathe in the smoke of burning worlds. Hear the clash of light and shadow in your bones, and know that the great hyperspace war is no longer approaching. It has begun, and you are bound to it forever. You are carried further into the storm, as though hyperspace itself has lost all rhythm and become only the echo of war. What began as crimson flashes now stretches into an unbroken horizon of fire. Sith fleets, like rivers of obsidian, flow through the void, their vessels glinting with cruel geometry, their formations tight as if woven by the hand of inevitability. You hear the pulse of their engines as a drumbeat, steady, merciless, marking each moment the galaxy loses another breath to their advance. They do not come as raiders, nor as marauders. They come as destiny incarnate, a force sharpened by exile into something unrelenting and precise. The Republic scrambles in response. You walk their halls, filled with voices raised in fear and resolve. Governors speaking of resistance, even as their hands tremble. Admirals tracing maps with fingers that cannot find enough lines of defense. Their fleets gather, shining silver against the black, but the silver feels brittle when set against the red storm. You sense their fragility, the desperation threaded through their courage. They want to believe they are prepared, yet you feel the doubt that hangs over every plan. For though they fight with technology and numbers, the Sith fight with something far older, hunger carved into their very bones. You drift again into the heart of battle, and the void erupts into violence. Sith warships descend like predators, their turbolasers cutting into Republic shields, sparks flashing like meteors across the dark. Starfighters swarm, weaving trails of light that vanish in sudden bursts of flame. Commands echo across comms, voices sharp, urgent, yet cut short in static as vessels vanish into fire. You feel the force vibrate with each death, each life extinguished a ripple in eternity, and the galaxy groans with sorrow. Yet, even in the sorrow, defiance rises. The Jedi step forward, sabers igniting, their blades gleaming like fragments of dawn in the endless night. You move with them as they enter the heart of the storm. Their motions are graceful but heavy, every strike of light carrying not only skill but the weight of countless lives depending upon them. Their blades clash against the crimson fury of the Sith, sparks showering across the void. Each duel is more than combat. It is the embodiment of philosophies colliding, light seeking balance, shadow demanding dominion. You feel the force shudder with each impact, as though the very essence of existence bends beneath the strain. Yet, neither side yields. The Sith blaze with passion, every strike drenched in centuries of rage, while the Jedi hold steady, their silence unbroken, even as the fire threatens to consume them. You descend to the surface of another world, one caught between the clash above. Its cities shudder beneath bombardment, towers collapsing in cascades of stone and smoke. The ground trembles with each strike, the air filled with the cries of those who once believed themselves safe. You walk their streets, flames licking at your feet, the scent of ash sharp in your lungs. And amid the chaos, you see the Jedi once more, their sabers cutting through falling rubble, their hands lifting survivors from the ruins. They fight not only against the Sith, but against despair itself, refusing to let hope be extinguished. In their presence, even in ruin, you feel a fragile light endure, but the Sith do not relent. You watch their legions march through fire, armored figures chanting in rhythm with their every step, their voices merging into a single thunderous roar. They raise their banners over fallen citadels, their eyes gleaming with victory. To them, these worlds are not merely conquered, they are reclaimed. You feel their conviction, their unyielding belief that the galaxy was always theirs. They carve their prophecy into stone and sky, making every victory a reminder of destiny fulfilled. The war spreads like a plague. Systems once untouched begin to tremble. Traders whisper of roots swallowed in silence. Colonies vanish as if swallowed whole by shadow. You sense the Republic fraying, its councils divided, its fleets thinning, its people living beneath the weight of fear. And yet, the Jedi continue. Weary, wounded, grieving, they still rise each day, their sabers burning like slender torches against a storm that would snuff them out. Their vow remains unbroken, and in that vow you sense a strength deeper than passion, the strength to endure when endurance seems impossible. You close your eyes, and the sound of battle lingers, the roar of engines, the hum of blades, the cries of both fury and sorrow. You know the war is far from over, that the skies will bleed again and again. But here, in this moment, you understand its essence. The Sith descend with fire, the Jedi stand with silence, and between them, the galaxy trembles, bound to a conflict that will not only scar its stars, but shape its memory forever. You drift deeper into the unfolding night, where every star now feels like a battlefield, and every shadow hums with the memory of war. The blood-red skies that once seemed distant now blanket the galaxy, a constant reminder that the Sith armadas have descended not as raiders to be repelled, but as conquerors who believe their triumph inevitable. You feel their presence pressing against every horizon, their fleets looming like vast predators in the dark, their chants carried across hyperspace until the very void itself seems to echo their faith. The great hyperspace war is no longer beginning. It has consumed the galaxy. and you are standing inside its unrelenting breath. You see the Republic straining beneath the weight of this storm. Councils argue in desperation, their chambers filled with the clamor of fear disguised as strategy. Senators speak of alliances, of sacrifices, of holding the line. But their words falter when met with the sheer scale of the Sith onslaught. Walk their crowded halls, feeling the cracks in their resolve, yet also glimpsing sparks of courage that refuse to die. They are fragile, yes, but not yet broken. Beneath the fear, there remains a belief, however faint, that they can endure. That light can still hold its place against the dark. The Jedi carry that belief upon their shoulders. You walk among them as they move from one battlefield to another, their robes tattered, their eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet their sabers still burning bright. They are no longer only monks or teachers. They are guardians standing at the edge of a storm that seeks to erase all memory of peace. Each battle scars them, yet each battle deepens their vow. You hear it whispered in their meditations, spoken softly to one another in the quiet moments between chaos. They will not abandon the galaxy. They will not let the flame be extinguished. Yet the Sith grow stronger with every world that falls. You see them gather in great halls carved from the stone of conquest, their dark lords standing at the center, eyes blazing, voices rising in thunder. They declare that the Republic is already theirs, that every victory confirms the prophecy, written in the bones of Korriban. Their soldiers kneel, striking the ground in unison, the sound rolling through you like a storm that has no end. To them, the war is not struggle, but destiny, and you feel the weight of their certainty pressing against your chest until even your breath trembles. You drift to the front lines, where the skies burn with endless fire. Fleets clash in the void, their hulls splitting into shards of light that scatter across blackness. Starfighters weave trails like fleeting stars, their paths ending in sudden bursts of flame. On the surface of scarred worlds, soldiers clash in streets drowned with smoke, their cries rising like a chorus of anguish and fury. You walk among them, each life extinguished, sending a ripple through the force that grips your heart. You feel how heavy the war has become, how deeply it carves into every soul, how unrelenting it remains. And yet, within the devastation, you find moments of stillness. A Jedi kneels beside a fallen comrade, whispering a prayer into the silence. A survivor clings to a rescuer's hand, eyes wide with gratitude in the midst of ruins. A starfighter pilot, breathing ragged, pushes forward into battle, even knowing the odds cannot be won. These fragments, fragile and fleeting, shine against the storm. They remind you that even in the heart of despair, there is resistance, there is memory, there is light. The Sith, too, are bound by memory. You feel their rage, born not only from hunger for power, but from the centuries of exile that etched scars into their very being. They fight not just to conquer, but to avenge, to prove that they were never meant to be forgotten. Their fury is more than ambition. It is survival, twisted into fire. And as you watch them carve their mark across the galaxy, you realize that both Jedi and Sith are fighting for remembrance, one to preserve peace, the other to restore dominance. The blood-red skies remain unbroken. You breathe them in, smoke and fire filling your lungs, the hum of sabers still ringing in your bones. The war feels endless, stretching into every corner of the galaxy, staining every world it touches. And though you do not yet see its end, you understand its truth. The Great Hyperspace War is not simply a clash of fleets or armies. It is the soul of the galaxy torn in two, each half refusing to yield, each half demanding to be eternal. And you, caught within its breath, carry the weight of both. You feel the sorrow of the Jedi and the fury of the Sith. You carry the despair of ruined worlds and the fragile light of those who endure. You know the war will rage on, carving deeper wounds, shaping destinies not yet written. But here, in the crimson silence after battle, you understand this. The galaxy will never be the same again. The blood-red skies above are not only the mark of war's beginning, they are the birth of a memory that will outlive every world, every star, and even you. You walk into the aftermath, where silence weighs heavier than the roar of war itself. The flames have dimmed, but smoke still clings to the sky, veiling the stars as though the galaxy itself mourns what has been lost. The ground beneath your feet is broken stone and shattered steel, remnants of cities that once gleamed with song and laughter. You feel the echoes of lives that thrived here, children running through plazas, merchants calling in crowded markets, lovers walking beneath lantern light, all reduced now to ash. You breathe it in, and the taste of sorrow lingers upon your tongue. The Sith carved their victory into the bones of these worlds. You see their banners hanging over fallen towers, crimson symbols painted against ruin. Their soldiers march through streets that no longer live, their chants pounding against the silence like war drums. To them, these ruins are triumph, proof that prophecy unfolds as promised. Each broken stone whispers to them of destiny fulfilled, and their dark lords gaze upon the devastation not with regret, but with satisfaction. In their eyes, every ruin is not loss, but reclamation, the galaxy reshaped in their image, the weak swept aside so strength might reign. Yet you also see the Jedi here. You walk among them as they kneel in the rubble, robes heavy with ash, sabers extinguished, but their presence still radiant. They move with quiet grace, lifting the wounded, comforting the broken, searching for the lost. Where the Sith see victory, the Jedi see responsibility. They do not linger on what is destroyed, but on who can still be saved. Their voices are soft, their hands steady, even as grief carves lines into their faces. You feel the weight they carry, the burden of standing against a storm that shows no mercy, and yet you also feel their refusal to surrender. The Force hums differently in these ruins. It does not sing with balance or whisper with serenity. It thrums with tension, with the clash of shadow and light still lingering in the air. You feel it in the rubble, in the dust, in the faint trembling of the ground beneath your feet. The battle is over, yet the war breathes still, its memory etched into the very fabric of the world. The stones remember, the stars above remember, and as you walk, you understand that nothing here will ever return to what it was before. You close your eyes, and the images rise before you. Jedi blades flashing bright in the dark, their hum cutting through screams. Sith sabers burning crimson, each strike a storm of rage. Ships descending in fire, soldiers clashing in streets, towers collapsing. As shadows swallowed the horizon, you feel the desperation of those who fought, the sorrow of those who fell, the endurance of those who still breathe. And though the battle has ended, the memory does not fade. It settles in your chest, heavy, unyielding, eternal. The Republic grieves its leaders, speaking words that falter against the reality of loss. They promise rebuilding, they vow to endure, yet you sense their voices trembling, their faith tested by the scale of ruin. They struggle to see beyond the ash, to imagine a future not shadowed by the Sith, and you, standing within their sorrow, wonder if they can. For each world that falls, each ruin that rises, seems to tilt the balance further, seems to carry the galaxy deeper into shadow. And yet, you also sense something else here: resilience. The survivors move among the rubble, carrying water to the thirsty, tending fires to keep away the cold, whispering lullabies to children who no longer dream of peace. Their lives are fractured, yet their will to live does not break. The Jedi kneel beside them, their presence steady, their hands guiding. And in this fragile persistence, you glimpse a truth deeper than conquest, that even in fire, life finds a way to endure. The ruins stretch before you, endless and haunting. Each stone whispers a story. Each ember glows with memory. You walk through them slowly, feeling the weight of both fury and courage, of both despair and hope. The Sith carved their prophecy into these ashes, yet the Jedi planted seeds of endurance that still pulse faintly beneath the soil. You do not know which will bloom in the ages to come. But as you breathe the smoke of ruined worlds, you know this: through ash and fire, the galaxy is being reshaped, and the fate of stars themselves bends beneath the collision of courage and fury. You drift further into the charred silence, where the war has not only scarred stone and sky, but reshaped the very soul of the galaxy. The ruins stretch endlessly before you, each broken city a mirror of another, each shattered world a reflection of countless more. You feel the rhythm of devastation, like a drumbeat, steady and unyielding, echoing through hyperspace itself. This is not a war confined to one place. It is everywhere at once, carried on the winds of fire, carried on the voices of the fallen. And you, walking through the remains, cannot escape the weight of its breath. The Sith grow bolder with every ruin they create. You see them standing atop crumbled towers, banners unfurled against crimson skies, their silhouettes sharp against the smoke. Their soldiers march in perfect rhythm, armored feet striking the ground with thunder that shakes the bones of the conquered. They carve their symbols into stone, burn them into walls, etch them into memory, so that none can forget who claimed these worlds. To them, each ruin is not tragedy, but triumph, a step toward the galaxy they believe was always theirs. You hear their voices in unison, proclaiming that weakness is gone, that strength has risen, that destiny itself bends to their will. Yet still the Jedi endure. You walk with them into the ruins, their robes singed, their faces weary, but their eyes steady. They move softly through rubble, carrying the wounded, guiding the lost, speaking words of comfort where silence feels unbearable. They do not see ruins as victory or defeat. They see them as burden, as responsibility, as places where they must bring light, even if the light flickers weakly. You feel their presence like a fragile warmth against the endless cold. They do not shout, they do not carve symbols into stone. They simply stand, and by standing, They remind the galaxy that balance still breathes. The battles grow fiercer, and the memories heavier. You see Jedi and Sith clashing in the streets of broken cities, their sabers hissing as they meet in arcs of light. Sparks shower across stone, each impact echoing like thunder. Citizens hide in the shadows, their faces lit by flashes of red and blue, their breath caught between fear and awe. The Jedi fight with calm precision, every motion controlled, every strike a prayer. The Sith fight with fire, their passion consuming, their rage an inferno that seeks not just to win but to dominate. The stones beneath their feet crack beneath the weight of their collision, and the air itself seems to tremble with the force unleashed. You drift through the aftermath, where silence always follows fury. Bodies lie still beneath smoke, sabers extinguished, banners trampled into ash. The survivors wander aimlessly, their eyes empty, their voices gone. Yet, even here, life flickers. A hand reaches out to lift another. A child cries and is held close. A Jedi kneels to heal with trembling hands, whispering words that are less spell than promise, that the galaxy will not always burn. These moments feel fragile, yet they glimmer in the dark, small flames refusing to die. The Republic struggles to keep pace with the tide. You hear their leaders speaking in hushed chambers, their words tangled with both despair and resolve. They argue over fleets, over alliances, over the possibility of retreat. Yet beneath the fear, there remains a determination to endure, to rise again from ash, even if every step forward costs blood. You feel their struggle echoing across the stars, not as certainty, but as persistence, a refusal to let despair have the final word. And through it all, the Force hums with tension. You sense it thrumming beneath ruins, flowing through broken rivers, whispering in the silence of shattered halls. It carries both the fire of the Sith and the silence of the Jedi, binding them together in a conflict too vast to ever truly end. The Force itself seems to shiver, as though this war is not only a battle for survival, but for its very essence. You stand in its current, breathless, unable to escape the truth that every ruin is part of a larger revelation. The galaxy is not what it was. You walk through worlds remade by ash and fire, carrying the weight of courage and fury alike. You feel the sorrow of what has been lost and the strength of what endures. You do not know which memory will survive, whether history will remember the chants of the Sith or the silence of the Jedi. But you know this: each ruin holds both, carved into its stones, etched into its sky, carried forever in the breath of the galaxy. And you, standing here, carry it too.